Hi, everybody. I'm Virginia Warren, lawyer and conflict alchemist and co-founder of Lawyers for Love. And today, we're in our moments of love. We're looking for lawyers around the planet who are bringing love into their legal practices. And many people don't know what love means when it comes to law, because lawyers are trained in left brain thinking, which is logic, rationale, and those sorts of things. And they're also trained not to look at a problem without any emotion attached to it. So what you have effectively are people, humans, with operating from one side of their brain, trying to solve half a problem. Now, how does that look? Well, in relationships, of course, we've got emotion, and law deals with relationships. So this is where it's really, really funny. And this is why lawyers have been seen to be pessimists. They're suicidal and depressive because they're not bringing their whole self into their work. And that is really difficult for some of us. But others of us have understood this, and they're starting to make a shift and bring more humane practices into their legal work. So today I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing Anita Moretta. She's the principal of Alchemy Family Law in Perth, Western Australia. She's on the other side of the country from me. I'm in Queensland. Anita has practiced extensively in family law since 2013, both in the private and community sectors for local and national firms. Throughout her practice, she has seen the negative impact separation can have on families and has found that there's a gap in how professionals honour the separation experience and treat it harmoniously. Through her personal experience, she helps to stop the noise, get centered, prioritise healing, start being and alchemising emotions. Through her professional experience, she helps with legal rights, entitlements, processes and strategies. She takes a heartfelt, heart-focused and holistic approach, humanises the experience with intention, and helps light the way to guide you through the shadows so that you have the space to transmute and embody your separation experience. Now that so resonates with me, embodying the experience and transmuting the shadows and all that negativity. That is just so where I'm at. So I just love to hear what you've got to say about it. But tell me firstly, and this is what people want to know, how did you get to be a lawyer? Because people say, oh, you know, we don't like lawyers, but they want their children to be lawyers. So tell me what inspired you to get into law?
Well, I actually started in criminal justice. I thought I wanted to be like a forensic criminal profiler and get into the minds of criminals. And then at the same time, I actually started volunteering for a victim support organization. So it was just a little bit of a contrast between criminal mind psychology and working with victims of crime. And I guess my experience with the organization, it really touched my heart to be able to I guess, serve people going through such an intense and horrific season of their life. And there was like so much trauma and grief and, you know, all of those negative types of emotions that they were processing. And so I thought I could do more if I was in law. So I transferred over and I did law, and that's kind of, and then as soon as I started practicing, I kind of knew criminal law or corporate law or any of that more clinical side of law wasn't really for me. And then because I saw the similar themes in family law, the you know, the grief and the trauma and the fear and the uncertainty, that was a lot in the family law aspect. So yeah, I transferred over to family law, and that's kind of where I started.
Yeah, but it is, isn't it, the fact, though, that there's the humanity in all of that. I had a criminal barrister the other day say to me, she was really disturbed because she's in a very similar space to us. She was very disturbed when she saw another lawyer in the court berating their client. And this is endemic in lawyers because we're not trained to connect with these people. But by the sounds of it, you were connecting and you've come into this space wanting to help. So you trained to be a lawyer, and then you went to work in a big firm, did you? Or what did you do? What was your path then?
Yeah, small boutique firm, a general practice. So we experienced it all, the corporate, the criminal, the family law. And I was there for a good amount of time, about four and a bit years. But you know how that things get a bit stale and you have to continue to follow the rules of the director, and there's no room for you to be you, and any type of suggestions you make to try and make a shift or a change or practice differently, just think a little bit openly, was shut down often. So it became very, very suppressive. So then I moved into the CLC world, the community legal sector world, and I pioneered a program. It was called Safe as Houses, and it essentially helped women who were at risk of homelessness as a result of family violence.
Wow.
So yeah, that was an intense period of time. But I guess getting back to that connection and really trying to assist people in need, but that working for a CLC has its own barriers and restrictions. So that was, a difficult path to kind of navigate through as well.
Yeah, well, that being a governmental sort of body as well, yes, they'd have their rules and structures as well. You don't have the freedom to sort of practice as you probably would like, I imagine.
Yeah, yes and no. It was more just restrictions as to how we could help, so to what extent we could help, and also, funding's just a massive, and resources, you know what I mean? And because it's such a high demand, you're limited as to what you can do, and you really have self-care was a massive one that you really needed to be aware of working, in an area like that.
A self-care, and I think that's probably where lawyers, particularly in family law or any traumatic conflict situation, they find it difficult, though it's not being taught how to. This is why we say that we're taught not to engage in the emotional aspect of it, yet the emotional aspect it's integral to it. That's what it is. But what a lot of us, and some of us being empaths, want to go in and feel into the situation, but we stay in there emotionally and energetically. But there needs to be some teaching around, pull yourself out, because you can go in and feel it, and so you have the understanding, but then bring yourself out and protect your own energies. I mean, these are really important factors when we're looking at a different way of practicing law. It's about the energy involved in it all, and understanding, if I go back to that lawyer that was rejecting his client, basically that's what he was doing. He was energetically rejecting a part of himself there when he's berating that client, and he's not realizing that at all. But these are the things that are happening, and because they're trying to separate me from all the pain, well, we need training in that as well. And that's really vital, because we are, as lawyers, at the coalface of all this conflict, and we have the opportunity to then show people the benefits in their conflicts there. Absolutely. So that's so you then made this shift from traditional practice. You decided this isn't for you
after the CLC world.
Yeah.
Well, I was really, funding was tight, and my contract wasn't being renewed, so I had to figure out where I was going to go. And just literally on the last day of my contract, I was able to get a job for a national firm, but that was a whole different story. I mean, the way they practiced was quite innovative, but there was unrealistic KPIs. There was, just really, really bad management. I was working 18 hours a day, nearly 7 days a week. It was just soul sucking. And there was no room for you to try and implement good practices, or even though it was a relatively innovative firm, but it was just all for the wrong reasons. Money, and then more
That's
money.
It. Yeah, that's where it's driven, isn't it? It's a business. They're running businesses. They're not looking after the humans in the business, or even their clients to a certain extent. That's what we've found with these sort of major firms, where there's an investment in my hours and how many hours I can bill. 18 hours a day. I mean, that's insane. That's just inhumane for a person to have to work. We can effectively work without working those hours, but that is money making. That's all it's doing. And many people don't realise that they, as a client, are also being used by that system, Because when you're told, oh, you have to go to court, you have to perhaps issue another application, let's take them down on that point, let's get more valuations or whatever it is, half the time it's not necessary. And they're just creating more of a fight so that you're more energized to spend more money. Yeah, go get them, kill them, help, show me I'm right, do all these things. And that's, people don't realize that they're being taken for a ride. And this is why it's costing the public so much money as well. And they don't come out winning.
So, no one wins, besides the lawyers.
That's right, exactly. But they're not winning in the end, are they? Ultimately, you yourself are saying, it's just like draining, it's burning me out. For what? What exactly. Do they hope to achieve? Some money?
Yep. That's
or
it.
Like doesn't prestige. Make any sense. Yeah. But is that prestige in the end when you're finding that the profession is one that is not really what you can call a profession anymore? A profession is something that's trusted. How do you trust that when people are learning, you just took me for a ride to get more money for you and your shareholders? Because these are often, these big firms are now conglomerates of, they're machines. That's machines.
Yeah.
So yes. Please, go ahead.
It's not common that people, like, it's often that clients were leaving with like a bad taste in their mouth, and it had nothing to do with how I was serving them. It was how I was told I had to serve them, So, and that was a disconnect for me. It's just like, I'm putting all of my love and my energy into this client, and I'm trying to get them the best outcome, and then with the principal telling me off for settling too soon, for example, or for not making enough Form 2 applications. Like, it was a major disconnect.
Crazy. It's just crazy. And if we can make the public aware that this is what's happening, because people go to a lawyer and they think, okay, this person is educated, they know what they're doing, I'm going to take that advice because I'm terrified of losing my property or whatever it is that they're in the fight about. So I'm going to follow that advice. So you dare not follow the advice if you've engaged that firm. And that's where the sad part goes. But people like yourself and lawyers in this space, they're losing their authenticity. You can't practice from an authentic place. You're doing what someone else is telling you to do. And that's soul destroying, because that's not who you are.
It's fitting into a mold. That's the expectation I felt. And so after working in the national firm, it was because I was literally on borderline burnout, like, by then. And then I went into a small, not a small, but a boutique firm here in Perth, which was well known. So I thought, that they've been around for a while, they must have good practices, etc. And that was just even like 3 steps backwards, in the sense of, it was we were even told what stockings we had to wear. Like, that was a firm policy. We had to wear skin color stockings. It was just insane. And then you're trying to fit in, you're trying to break free, but there's this expectations of, again, how you are to act, how you are to be, how you are to who you are to meet with, that kind of stuff. And even trying to do some community work, because you have to seek approval to go and do some community work, and then more often than not it was denied because it wasn't aligned with their values, or they didn't see the merit in it, for example. So how can you be authentic when you have to fit into a mold?
Do you know, I've heard that so many times, particularly from young female lawyers, because they're the ones really standing up and saying, no, not taking it, I'm not doing it, which is wonderful, because if we make a stand in this way, those structures, the patriarchy, the hierarchy, it's only supported as at the bottom level, right? Because it's an upward shift in power. So if all those people move out from the bottom, it's going to come crumbling down. And that's it. Yeah, that's it. We see that happening now. I don't know whether any of them can see it, and they probably don't want to see it. It's just like, no, get me my money, get me my prestige, and get me out of here before it all crumbles, because that is the way it's coming. Yeah, it absolutely is. So with these larger firms, did they have any wellness programs in place?
Oh, look, the national one didn't. The smaller ones in Perth, they ticked all the right boxes, on the face of it. There was weekly meetings and a monthly, get together, learning about how to meditate. But like that was just, for me, my experience was really just a tick boxing situation, because when you try to go deeper into it or try to develop it further, it was, well, this is how it is, take it or leave it kind of a situation. So and then they also had like massage, like every 2 months a lady would come and do like office massages. So like they had the things in place, but that was then, I felt, used against you because we're giving you all of these benefits and you're still not happy.
You've only worked 18 hours a week for us or whatever it was. Like, we're just going to give you a little trinket back. I have one of these beautiful young women said to me, oh yeah, they have pizza night and they call that wellness. And I thought, oh my God. But even when clients come in and tender, I was told, tender for work, and the tender, or when they're tendering for client work and there's, your wellness programs, they're just ticking boxes that don't exist. So I come back to, it's the responsibility of the public now to start asking questions about what the firms are really doing. Are they bringing love into? And love, looks in many different ways. And I think we had a little discussion before about it. Lawyers don't like the word love. They don't know what it is. Well, of course, because, we're trained to be unemotional humans. And love means a lot of things for a lot of people. But even at the most basic level, we know it means being kind, connecting, compassionate, and just being a human and understanding you're going through a real human issue and I need to sort of hold some space for you at a fundamental level. So was it from that point that you had enough, or when did you decide to shift into your own practice?
Well, I officially burnt out in November of last year, and like
officially.
Under doctor's orders. Well, under doctor's orders, I had to take 2 weeks off work, and I was on medication. And I couldn't get through a day without crying. So it was like I thought it was rock bottom, but it wasn't quite. I wasn't quite there yet, because then a couple of weeks later, I got fired from that job, and then a week later, I got a new job, and then a couple of weeks later, I got fired from that job, and then COVID hit, and then my personal life completely exploded, and then I find myself back in my family home, in my high school bedroom, not knowing who I am, not knowing what I stood for, not knowing, what was going to come next, and but I from when I left the CLC world, I kind of thought maybe it's time I just go out on my own. But I kept pushing and I kept pushing, I kept resisting, and then, as universe does it, here's burnout, here's explosion after explosion. When are you going to get the message? And then, so I finally got the message. Probably in around about when I June this year. So it's still really quite fresh, but it's been an idea that's been brewing for a while, and now it's just been slowly implementing it. And I find myself like having to really double think what I'm doing, because I'm so used to either being suppressed or told what to do or told what not to do. And I'm like, no one's actually telling me what I can and can't do right now. So I have the freedom to practice like this.
You can lead with your heart now and just like, oh, wow, my heart wants to do this. But isn't it beautiful? And this is what we're saying as lawyers even, is that every time something negative that appears to be negative like this is happening to you, embrace it. What's the opportunity in this for me? What's the bigger picture? Because there is always a bigger picture. Like if you're not listening to your heart, the universe is going to slam you down, slap you down. I mean, that's happened to me. And say, right, move in that direction, because it's going to feel awful for you unless you do, because where your heart is where your heart is. And you've got to give this planet the best of you, because we want you. We want you and your... No, there's no other you.
Exactly, yeah. And feeling those, that the explosions and all the crap that we experience, like that's just really us out of alignment. That's us not being aligned or being, to be able to share from our center, to be able to share from our essence. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. So these are the sorts of practices you're going to bring into your legal practice as it evolves. I mean, this is all, I just want to say this to everybody too. all this way of thinking is new. So if anyone's out there just thinking, oh, yeah, okay, so the spiritual world has been doing this for quite some time, or these sorts of practices, but in law, this is foreign. It's so foreign, and that I find it so fascinating why it's foreign. It's because I think because law has such a negative structure about it that the love hasn't been able to seep in. But times are changing, and everything is changing, as we know. There's a new normal coming. So this is brand new for all of us that want to be in this space. And I call us pioneers because we are. So yes, what do you envisage? What do you're going to see someone with their conflict, and yeah, tell me more. Tell me what you propose that your practice is going to look like.
Well, definitely more of a collaborative approach, and definitely, and I mean, in Perth, it's not. I don't think we're still a bit behind. I think in Perth. So just a little bit. So,
well, you can be a leader.
Well, that's the thing. I'm really wanting to get a movement going in how we can practice collaboratively and essentially leave the power with the clients to make their decisions, as opposed to us telling them what they should or shouldn't do necessarily, or just taking it to court and getting the magistrate to decide for them. I think that's the people are so willing, to, as you said in your TED talk, to give over their problem. Here, solve it, but that takes their power away from them, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so really right. Just trying to embody that, and provide it holistically, because particularly with family law, there's so many other elements that needs to be considered, whether it's mental health issues, children's matters, financial issues, selling a house. So there's so much of it, and a lawyer obviously that's not their role to do all of that. But if we can bring that in and make sure that all those needs are being attended to, so they have the tools to be able to make the best decision for themselves and for their children and for their ex-partner.
Yeah. I think that's what I've said before. It's being a first responder. And, a lot of lawyers listening would say, oh, but isn't that the job of a psychologist? And I say, well, maybe, yes, it is. However, people aren't going to a psychologist with their legal problem. They're coming to a lawyer. And this is where all the emotional, the conflict will show you what rules you've been following. Lawyers for Love call it rules that you've been following, that you've created when you were young, and you're still going to a lawyer now or the law as your parent rather than making your own decisions. Because we were parented. It's time to stop it. Allowing people to parent us. We don't need parenting. We might need guidance how to work through some things. Every reaction we have in life is our own responsibility. It has nothing to do with our ex, nothing whatsoever. That's all how we're responding. Yeah.
Yeah, radical responsibility.
Radical responsibility. Yeah, love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, that's brilliant. So you're practicing now, you're up and running.
Yeah, I mean, it's still in the early stages. I'm still figuring out how to put systems in place and getting my financial stuff, because you don't learn any of that, in law school either. So
no.
But I'm really trying to enjoy the process, and I'm not trying to get stressed over it. The only thing I'm really finding the pushback is all of the limiting beliefs, what I can't do versus what I can do, what I've been told I can't do, should I say, versus what I feel I need to be doing. So
oh yeah, look, I hear you so loud and clear on that, and this is what people have said to me: you can't go out and say that about law. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? It needs to be said. Now, a lot of people may not agree, but if you're moving into a space where you're working and you're having fun in your job, who says you're wrong?
Yeah. And who else? What does it matter to anyone else but yourself? You're the one that has to live it.
And getting back to your authenticity, isn't it? It's being authentic, not being a soldier in the system, doing what someone else says all day. What kind of a life is that lived when you are expected to be something for somebody else?
Yep.
But all the things you've been through are just ideal, because you need the contrast. You need to see, gee, I don't like that. I don't want to do that. I want to do that. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, totally. And I was living on a process of elimination for a while, like identifying what it is that I don't want. But then, it comes to times where you need to start living the things that you want to embody. So, but you need to go through that process for sure. And it's definitely not, a not necessarily pleasant, but as long as you I think awareness is a massive one as well, like really being, and that's where that self-care practices or the rituals really help to bring you back to that being centered and really back to being just a being, so you have that time and space to really figure it out, like see the clarity, get clarity, yeah, or even just feeling peace.
Yeah, well, that's it. And this is what I've said, because I wrote a book about it, just saying, let's put our own oxygen masks on first, lawyers, because we've been ripped apart, emotionally. We're only half a human working, and that's really not who we are at a core level in any event. So let's get back to our own center, because we can't help anyone until we can help someone else, till our own cups are full. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. And we're reacting to people around. We're reacting to the courtroom. We're reacting to the other legal counsel. And it's not helpful to anybody. It's like this big fight. No, we've forgotten the professionalism. We've forgotten, and I think the money factor is like driven to get results, as you said, just to keep issuing applications. I don't care what the client wants. I'll tell you what you want. But that's not,
because that party's not playing fair, or we have to do this because you're entitled to more. You know what I mean? Well, actually, that yeah, exactly. It's questioning it, and it's been really interesting process for me because I've been so conscious about what I say, like using the words embody or using the words transmuting. Like, it's not what lawyers say normally. And so I'm like, oh, what are they going to think? And I was like, and then I went to an event yesterday. I was like, I did a Lightworkers Academy, and it was we had a Christmas party. So being with other light workers, and I'm talking about what I'm doing, they're like, oh, I'm getting goosebumps and this is amazing. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm on the right path. Like, it doesn't actually matter what the other lawyers are thinking, because even if I can show them that there is another way, it's up to them to come and meet, because that's, as you said, that's where we're going. That's the path that we're heading into now.
That's it. And we see it as an alternate platform. Like, you play your law game over there that you want to play in fear. We're not going to play that. We're playing it differently, completely differently, in fact. But of course, there's sort of a transmutation of that, of how that has to shift across. It can't happen overnight. And law exists, so we play with it, but we bring the human in and the love into it. Yeah. So do you have any tips for any lawyers that are wanting to do this? Because this is the thing, I'm trying to draw them out. They're there because they hear my posts and they see what I do, and they're just like, oh, I'd like to do that too, but I'm too scared. Have you got any tips for anybody?
Look, I think simplicity is always best. And even like going out into nature, going into the beach and putting your feet in the sand, or going and sitting under a tree, just bring things simple back into your life, and you'll start, and stopping and breathing, like just doing really simple humane things that we were doing all the time. And that's really going to help, again, center us, and I find that the answers will then come, because if we keep asking questions, and the question's already been asked, the fact that we're continuing to ask it is blocking the answer, or you know what I mean. So just sit with it, and I think that's a very airy way of putting it, but nature, I found, has definitely been helping me ground, and just doing things that make me feel good. So and like practices like journaling or meditation or yoga, or just really basic things that are helping me, bringing me back to my body, so that I can then gain clarity and understanding as to what my next step is, and not rushing it, and just taking my time with it.
You're so right, because lawyers are living in their heads. We're taught to be intellectual. As soon as you get that intellect out of the way, they don't know who they are. So it's like the panic sets in. But when you can do that, like walk in the sand, get in nature, they're my favorite things. Go for a swim in the sea, just get in the garden, whatever it is, you drop out of into your heart. And your heart, science has said that it's sampling the future all the time. So if we get that head out of the way, we can actually then get into our heart space, and it will give you the answers. The universe gives you the answers, but through all that. And often, even with my clients, I've sat them down in front of me like, okay, now we're just going to take a big breath. and we ground. It's just one that just one breath brings you in, and it just all the things it does for your body. People have forgotten how to breathe. There's such beautiful tips, so simple, and they can change your life. They can really change your life. Become a human again. Become the rest of you, not the brain.
And also like connecting with other, like, so I did a retreat with Clarissa a couple of weeks ago, and one of her tips was like, bring things that are not law related into law land, and those are very simple elements as well. So that bringing different areas into your life is that's Clarissa
Raywood that we're talking about here. I did a collaborative law training with her as well. She's absolutely fantastic. Happy family lawyer. We love her work because she is in that space and is just breaking us out of those molds, those ideals. She's just so out there, and it's fantastic stuff. So more people like her, more people like you, Anita, bringing into this space. And more men coming into the space. And I am interviewing a few men coming up too, which is so wonderful to see that we are opening up to these ideas, and we're pioneering the space. So it's beautiful. And look, I'm so appreciative of you coming on the show today. And this is awesome. Now you're if you're in Australia and you're wanting a loving lawyer, particularly you're practicing in family law primarily, are you, Anita, or you're that's the area you really want to practice? Her website, I've got a little banner up here. Let me just click on that. There it is, alchemyfamilylaw.com, and that's Anita's website. You can contact her that way. And again, it's all about the public demand for this. As soon as the public are saying we want lawyers that care about us, not the dollar, that way we're going to have a shift in the system, because it's all supply and demand. It's as simple as that.
Yep, a buyer's market for sure.
It is, and choose love. Choose love.
Choose love. I love that.
That's it. Well, thank you so much again, Anita. And we'll be posting your details around our media as well, so people can get in touch with you if they'd like to do that. Thank you so much for bringing love in. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.